Hey, welcome back to Behind the Bands, and man, a good friend here, Adrian. So good to see you again. And I'm really excited to talk to you, man, because the album's out now, and we've been talking about it. The last time I talked to you, it's been a while, but so a couple questions about the album. First of all, congratulations.
Thanks, man.
And you just said something on stage tonight, so it has cracked what, the top 50 now?
Top 50, yeah. It debuted in its first week at number 49 on the Billboard Top 200. So I'm very proud of that fact, because if you look at that list, it's all pop artists and country artists and rappers, and for us to be in the top 25% of that top 200, I mean, we're kind of flabbergasted, actually, and you never really expect things like that to happen, and when they do, it's very surreal, and you don't really know how to process it,
Well, we expected that for you guys, because I tried to. I published a review of the album the other day, and I had to be up front. I was like, folks, I'm not really unbiased on this one because I love this band.
I know.
So
that was adorable.
So I'm going to ask you some of the same questions that were what I thought about the album. This album has such a positive vibe, and I mean that in a good way. Not that the last album was negative, but it was a darker album. Can you talk about the positive lyrics and where that's all coming from?
Yeah, that's a great observation. True Love Never Dies. You guys, obviously know the story about our cousin Ivan Patrick, and that whole period of when we signed our record deal, and shortly after his death, and we went on tour. We left, and that was, on that album cycle, we went out on the road, and we were facing death. It was just, that's how it was every day, every waking minute. Even when I was sleeping, I was just thinking of him. And so on this album cycle, for Peace at All Costs, it's the exact opposite. I'm expecting my firstborn son.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. And so those vibes are definitely imbued in this album. Just like True Love Never Dies. Captured that dark, despair, I guess, in some spots. But even on that album, we tried to maintain the hope, and that's our goal mostly as artists and entertainers is to just get people to keep the faith, whatever that faith may be.
So, tell me about All the Pretty Things. That tune, when I first listened to it, I wouldn't have guessed it would have been my favorite, because I love the heavier stuff.
Yeah, I know you do.
But I love that tune on this album. Tell me a little bit more about it.
It's a good one, man. We actually got that song co-written with some friends of ours, Julian Jorgensen and Matt McCloskey from Rev Theory, and then one of their collaborators, a very talented singer named Jonas, and it's about, that song's actually about suicide, and one of Jonas's good friends committed suicide, and a couple of my good friends have done that as well. So it just really gelled, that song. It's funny that you say it's one of your favorites, because it's one of my favorites too on the album. I really like that song.
Good minds think alike.
Yeah, there you go. And it's a slightly different vibe for us, but it still feels like us at the same time. So.
And that was my take on that album too. Not to do a whole album review here with you, but it evolved. The album evolved, and I was nervous when I said that to people, because you hear that and you think, oh, okay, the band's changed, but you guys you've changed, but you haven't. There's an otherwise trademark that I think is like those choruses you guys sing. Do you guys take that out of some of your songs? Every time we write a chorus, we try to imagine the entire world singing it with us. That's exactly how it feels.
That's what we're going for every time, man. I mean, we want to hit a home run at every chance we're at bat. So yeah, I'm glad I'm glad you noticed that. We definitely wanted to maintain some of the familiar aspects of the band, while at the same time, growing it a little bit and evolving it. That's a great word you use. That's evolution. That's what we're all about.
So you guys picked a Canadian producer on this one. Tell me about where that came from.
He was
Vegas
recommended
band.
to us. We were put in touch with him by our former manager Danny Wimmer, and that was it turned out great. Like David Bottrell, this guy who's got 3 Grammys. He basically is the guy who discovered Tool. He did the first Tool albums. He did Muse's second album. He's worked with Peter Gabriel for 20 years. He did Stone Sour's latest album. He worked on Godsmack's 5 album, and Stain's a huge. What album was it by Stain? Something Gray, 16.
Yeah, I can't remember, but he's got a resume.
And he's got this massive resume,
yeah.
and he's worked with all the top vocalists in the game, and I wasn't nervous or anything. it was pretty nerve-wracking, man, and he would just turn out to be one of the coolest guys we've ever met, and for a guy who could be a super producer and come in at the end of the day and just be like, okay, that sucks, change that. He was. I remember I showed up the first day of recording, and he's like down on his knees underneath the board, like plugging stuff in. And I was like, wow, that's pretty rad, man.
How nervous were you about this album, sophomore album? As much as you guys tour, it was pretty important to have a success on this one and not a sophomore jinx like some bands had. And you guys had it.
Yeah. I mean,
were you guys nervous about it?
Definitely, yeah. My brother and I discussed that many nights. Every time we came home, we'd 12, 16, sometimes 18-hour days in the studio, and then we'd go home, and on the drive home, we'd be like, I guess it could be like second guessing, you're like wondering, did we write, is that good? Was that good? Is that a good song? Is it strong enough? Is the material smart enough? Is it accessible? Is it too complicated? All these this myriad of questions, and we definitely were very aware of the pressure of the second album, but I can honestly say that we're a group that we I'd like to believe that we perform fairly well when the chips are down and the odds are against us. A lot of times we've been able to persevere, and I'm very proud of my bandmates and very proud of this album.
So how's the tour different this year? So a year ago you were doing the same kind of thing. How's it different now?
Well,
you got an awesome bus. I love the outside.
Thank you.
Nice wrap on it or whatever that's called.
This is the first kind of step we took. We were fortunate enough to find this beautiful vehicle, and we had it renovated, and we built bunks and had it wrapped, and we wanted to make a statement, so I was feeling a little like I had some reservations about putting our faces on the side of a bus, 10 feet high and 15 feet wide, but it worked. It's like we pulled up to a couple of big festivals, and this was like a statement, and for a band like us that are, we're on our second album, we've only been out for a couple of years, and so in the grand scheme of things, we're a young band still. We're not a brand new band anymore, but we're still younglings, and it felt good. It feels good to have done this on our own, and for other younger bands out there, brand new bands, hopefully set an example, for what you can do for yourself by just not giving up.
I see you now, and I saw a little bit of it today. You kind of mentoring another band and bringing another band along with you and encouraging them. Who was the band that did that the most for you guys, looking back, that really had that same conversation I just saw you having with another band?
Looking back, well, of course, I've got a long history within this moment. They gave us a really big, our first break, with The Promise. And
I love that song.
Yeah, it's an amazing song. Those guys really helped us out. The guys in Pop Evil, man, those guys are our homies. They took us on tour before we even had an album out. It hadn't even come out. True Love Never Dies wasn't even done, and and they took us.
We saw you twice on that tour.
Yeah, and they've been really good to us. Buck Cherry's been really good to us. Papa Roach was amazing, and when the time that we were able to tour with Stone Sour, you know, Corey Taylor was every day like talking with us, coming side stage, watching the songs, you know, telling us what he thought, you know. So in that respect, there's a lot of bands that have been you know, open and friendly to us.
And what's the biggest thing you would tell those bands not to do? Looking back on the year, like if you could say, man, I want to take something back. Nothing that's going to harm the band, but I mean just something in the industry to take back.
We get a good lawyer. Get a good entertainment lawyer. That's my first piece of advice actually from now on out. But my second piece is, you know, don't be dicks. That's, you know, there's you know, a few times before we were signed, and you know, even after we were signed, where, you know, you let life get to you and your emotions get pent up, and then you have a couple of drinks and, you know, you turn into an asshole, you know. And like, I'm not gonna lie, I've been that guy a couple times, you know. So, but you never know, you know, who you might end up working with, and you never know, like, if you might meet somebody who's a dick to you when he's drunk or whatever, but he's actually a really cool guy, you know. So it's just don't be a dick, but get a good lawyer.
Hey, just to round things up here, so what do you guys have coming up next? Are you just going to keep headlining for a while and out there on the road for a good bit? Or?
Yeah, we're taking, you know, we're out here with our label mates Like a Storm, and another very cool young band called Islander, and it's a cool, you know, young rock package, you know, and so we're going to be doing the headlining thing for another month or two, I think, and then we go back out with Buck Cherry, which will be fun because they're, again, super cool guys, and you know, they're legends, they're rock and roll legends, and then after that, we're going to go home for, I think we're going to actually get to go home for Halloween, which is a very, you know, somber and, you know, hallowed day for my brother and I.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we'll see what we got in the works for November and December. We've been talking with our new management, and we're thinking about Europe, you know, hopefully in early 2015.
Don't go over there in the summer, because that means we won't see it all the festivals.
Oh,
so you got to get over there, like, well, in the heart of the winter.
East Coast states.
Yeah, we'll most likely get sent over there in the winter, so don't worry.
Hey, Adrian, man, thanks a lot for being here with us again. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely.